Saturday, this terrorist group are there openly promoting hatred, just openly sending people to fight for the Taliban, recruiting people. So the Stockholm bomber, who was an Iraqi Muslim who come to university in Luton, was a nice young man till he come to Luton. Then when you're vulnerable at your most vulnerability, away from home for the first time, in university, they pounce.
And that's typical cult behavior.
Oh boy, strap in everybody, because things are heating up here in the first week of January 2025. As you can see, we are watching a clip where Jordan B. Peterson is talking to Tommy Robinson. And if you're American, like most of the people who have been watching this channel so far, you might not know who Tommy Robinson is, although you might know who he is because he has been in the news recently because of Elon Musk. Elon Musk has been promoting Tommy Robinson on X. And a lot of Americans are probably thinking, who the hell is Tommy Robinson? So I'm going to do a few videos about Tommy Robinson this week, and we will get into it. So let's just get started, and I will break in from time to time. Please watch. This is very important, actually. This is very relevant to what is going on in the United States right now, in England, in Canada, in Australia, and in continental Europe, where I live. And I will be giving you more of my personal story in this video and in other videos. I hope you find it interesting and not too off topic, but this is kind of at the heart of a major shift, I hope, in the zeitgeist right now. Let's get into it.
In 2015, I started my activism in 2009, So I'll give a brief history to my work.
Yeah, do that.
I was born in Luton in 1982. Luton's a town that's 30 miles north of London. When I was born in 1982, there was one mosque. There's now 45 mosques, okay?
How big is Luton?
It's 200,000 population.
And how many mosques?
45.
Okay.
45. Luton was named by the CIA as the epicenter for terrorist activities across Europe. The fertilizer bomb plot was planned in Luton. The 7/7 attacks, they got their bombs in Luton. The Stockholm bomber was radicalized in Luton. Terrorist attack after terrorist attack has orchestrated and come from Luton. Now, growing up in Luton, as I said, when I was born, I've seen all of this, Al-Mujahideen, Omar Bakri, Abu Hamza, their head office, they used to have an organisation called Al-Mujahideen, who were they're now a prescribed terrorist organisation, but they never were. Their head office was in Biscuit Mill in my hometown. So growing up, I had a very life lesson of the influence of Islamist ideology and what it can do to freedom. Also, the grooming gangs, which is something we'll get onto. So my cousin was a victim at 14. She was hooked on heroin and raped. She woke up being raped by gangs of bearded men in the Muslim community. She ran naked through the streets. Now, what the police done at the time is nothing. So I grew up watching.
How old were you when that happened?
I would have been 13. So she was 14. So as all this is happening, and just so people get, Luton is one of the most diverse towns in Great Britain, one of the most diverse towns in Europe, So white English are a minority, Most of the people I love are not white, because I've been brought up in this community, So as I've been brought up, in our school playground, when I went to school, you had the Muslim playground and the non-Muslim playground. So I had a very quick learning. And then when you go into the school...
Why were they segregated?
Well, they segregated themselves. The Muslims did not integrate or assimilate. So when you go into the school dinner table, just so people can picture it, you'll have whites sitting with blacks, sitting with Indians, sitting with Sikhs, sitting with Hindus, all sitting together, and in the corner there'll be 10 tables of Muslims, Now, I never understood it as a child, It was from when I went to high school, I just knew the Pakistanis are very different, They're quite hostile. If you mess with one, you've declared war with the whole tribe, There's not a fair fight. There's never a one-on-one fight. It's all gang-related. And so I just grew up learning it. But that's not to say, because some of the best people I met in my hometown were Muslim lads, Some of the people I loved were Muslim lads. But per se, there was a real problem here. And I grew up watching it, learning it. And Al-Mujahideen, my first activism was in 2004. What was I then, 20? 2004, I organised a protest. And this group, do you remember the Beslan School Massacre? No, so Beslan School Massacre was Chechen terrorists had took control of a school. And this is coming again, yeah? This is going to happen to a Jewish school, I guarantee you. They took control of a school, and I was probably 2019 or something.
That was where?
This was in Chechnya in Russia.
Yeah, okay, I remember the story.
And what happened was, the parents were all outside the school, and all the Muslim jihadists are inside the school with their pupils, with their children. And then they start butchering them and killing them. And I remember watching the parents drop to their knees and they're screaming, yeah? And I remember watching it thinking, what is this? This isn't one man that's gone in and done this. This is a whole group of people. So what? And then I had to understand what brings someone to do that. And 2 weeks later, I saw an interview in a chicken shop in my hometown of Luton with a man called Saif al-Islam, which translates as Sword of Islam. He was second in command of al-Mujahideen, the group, yeah, whose head office is in my town. And I saw him saying an attack like that would be justified in a British school.
Ooh, so first of all, this interview is, I think, from mid-2024. Right now, as I record this on the 6th of January 2025, Tommy Robinson is in jail in the UK. He has been jailed for contempt of court. If you want to find out more about that, look into it. He may well have been in contempt of court, you know, legally. That I don't know. But he has been an activist for many years. I've known about him for, yeah, it must be going on 20 years now, something like that. And he has definitely suffered a lot for his cause. He's made a lot of enemies. I can't say I know everything about Tommy Robinson or his political positions. A lot of people have not just the establishment. The establishment in the UK obviously despise him on either side for various reasons. But a lot of so-called, you know, people on the right who are against mass migration, people like myself, they also don't like him for other reasons, which I won't go into now, as I don't want my channel to get banned. So, Tommy Robinson's currently in jail. Again, I'm looking at these videos to give those of you who do not know about Tommy Robinson a bit of background. I'll be making other videos. Let's keep going. By the way, if you like this kind of content, please like and subscribe. I think this is very important stuff. I really appreciate every subscription. It really helps.
And that was my wake up. I said, who's this man? And I looked him up. Who's his group? And I looked up who they were. And then I looked up Omar Bakri. And then I started understanding.
By the way, I'm sorry to interrupt again. He was saying that the head of this Islamist organization based in Luton, England, had, you know, came out in favor of the Beslan school massacre in Russia, which is absolutely disgusting. But this has been going on a long time. I remember when was it Margaret Thatcher who was prime minister? When what's his face, the author Salman Rushdie got a book of his published, which upset Muslims around the world. Fatwa was announced against Salman Rushdie, and he went into hiding for at least a decade. But there were groups of Muslims. I remember at that time, I think that was in the 80s, who were calling for his death openly in the UK, which should have just been against the law. You're not allowed to do that. But some people have more free speech than others. I think they all should have been arrested and deported at that very moment. At least those people who were calling for Salman Rushdie's death.
And their ideology and trying to work out. And then for me, these are a danger. Yeah. So then I organised and I looked, and they used to have a stall set up. So we have a Don Miller's Bakery, a famous, it's like your Tim Hortons, yeah? We have a bakery chain in Luton Town Centre. And every Saturday, this terrorist group are there openly promoting hatred, yeah? Just openly sending people to fight for the Taliban, recruiting people. So the Stockholm bomber, who was an Iraqi Muslim who come to university in Luton, was a nice young man till he come to Luton, yeah? Then when you're vulnerable, at your most vulnerability, away from home for the first time, in university, they pounce.
And that's typical cult behavior.
This is what, so they pounce.
Yeah.
And they got him, and then he went and blew himself up, yeah? So these groups have been operating. So I organised a protest called Ban the Luton Taliban, yeah? Well, I actually, I gave a presentation at Oxford University.
When was that?
That was 2004. So I gave a presentation at Oxford University because I made leaflets. And if you dig up the leaflet, which I'd done for my Oxford University presentation in 2004, my rhetoric has never changed, okay? So the leaflet was put as front page of our local newspaper. And what I said is, whites and blacks are being religiously and racially targeted in this town, yeah? No one's doing anything about it. there's a total two-tier policing operation in this town where they get away with what they want. The Islamic community get away with what they want. The police do not know how to deal with these problems. I went on to say that they use drugs as a weapon against our community to get our children into paedophilic practices, which is what's now known as grooming. Now, when I made this, and I was a young man, yeah, and I organised it with my friends. We go to football together. Luton's one of the most. It was voted the roughest town in Great Britain. Yeah, It's a rough place. But
what makes it rough?
They were hat makers.
We were hat makers.
What made you rough?
That's all that mercury.
That's the history.
Oh, maybe. Yeah.
Luton's it's a poverty-stricken town with a lot of problems, regardless of Islam. Luton has a lot of problems. It's a rough environment. The levels of violence are as high as anywhere in the UK. But what you grow up thinking is normal actually isn't normal. You grow up with a level of violence in your school, on your streets, or the way to solve things is through violence. And it's a poor town, yeah? So I organised this group. About 200 of us turned up, Englishmen. And for the first time it worked. The terrorist group weren't there, yeah? The jihadists weren't there that day because we were coming, yeah? And the police locked it down. But what happened from that point...
The police... tell me what they did.
No, the police, on this day, the police turned up. We went to Don Miller's. The group weren't there. We then held a little protest at our council building saying we need to get rid of these terrorists, yeah? This was before 7/7. This is before any terrorist attacks in Great Britain. The terrorist attacks we've seen, so 60% of the Muslims in Great British prison, in Great Britain's jails, are ex-members of this group in Luton, yeah? So...
Okay. So you actually had put your finger on them.
I put my finger on them, and I named in the leaflet... What I named in the leaflet was the link between the street drug gangs we have a gang called the Gambinos. They're not very original. They're a Pakistani group, but they've called themselves the Gambinos. And 4 years later, the national newspaper... So in 2004, I named them in my leaflet and say we've had enough of the gangs with their heroin, and we've had enough of the jihadists all combining. And what happened after this was I was targeted by the gangs, not by the jihadists, by the street-level drug gangs who were drinking alcohol, gambling. They're not religious. They're just out pumping heroin and controlling the streets and prostitution. I was targeted by them. Now, years later, the national newspapers run a link showing the link between the Gambinos, they name them, and terrorists. They work alongside each other. And at the time, the Luton Islamic Centre, which is the main mosque of Luton, the main Salafist mosque of Luton, yeah? It's the old synagogue, ironically, before the Jews were driven out. It's the old synagogue. It's now...
Oh, really?
Yeah, convenient. But Kadir Bask was the leader of this mosque. Now, at the time, I then started looking at this mosque because my friends who were Muslim had said, bruv, that's the problem. In this town, that's the problem, yeah? So I went on their website and I translated their website. And I found a 7-page justification for women to be lashed for adultery, yeah? I found justification for killing for apostates. This is on the main mosque, yeah? So I translated it all, and then basically I faced a backlash from the Pakistani gangs, and I had problems then. But at this time, I'm being honest, I was part of a Luton football scene. So I used to go football with my friends. The Saturday would be the day that all the English lads would come together for Luton Town Football Club. It was a cultural thing, I guess. I've never claimed to be an angel either. So I was part of a football scene. So,
yeah, I don't think Jordan Peterson here is really understanding what he's mentioning. When he says he's part of the football scene, I assume he means he was a football hooligan of types, yeah? So now this is one of the reasons the establishment hates Tommy Robinson. Whenever he's mentioned in the establishment press, you'll see they'll refer to him as, first of all, Tommy Robinson's not his birth name, so they'll give him his original birth name, which is Stephen Yaxley Lennon, something like that. And they'll say that he was the former head of the English Defence League, a notorious white supremacist gang associated with football hooliganism or something like that, they'll say. So, yeah, Tommy Robinson obviously grew up in a very, very rough town under very rough circumstances in a place where diversity is absolutely nobody's strength, except for the invading group. It's their strength. And yeah, his whole world has been formed by that and his worldview. And I think, you know, he was very much a canary in the coal mine. You know, as he said this, he was talking about events happening in 2004, 20 years ago. And he's still around. So mad respect for that. You know, he's still going. He's got now Elon Musk tweeting him out in his support. Elon Musk just tweeted out, like yesterday, as I record this, that Nigel Farage is not up to the task of leading the Reform Party and that Tommy Robinson should lead it. You know, that's another game that Elon Musk is playing. I'll talk about that in another video. But this is just meant to give a little taster to those of you who have no idea about Tommy Robinson or things, the situation in the UK in general. And the situation is dire in the UK on many levels, not just the mass migration situation. Okay, that is absolutely dire in the UK. It's been going on for many decades, been going on since the 50s, I believe. And already in the 60s, people were warning about the negative impacts of mass migration. Most famously, Enoch Powell, a conservative politician who gave a very famous speech which has been dubbed the Rivers of Blood speech. You can look it up. Enoch Powell also appeared in the 70s on, I believe, the Dick Cavett show. You can find that interview on YouTube. It's a fantastic interview. Very, the guy he was very intelligent. He was a classicist, of all things, a conservative politician. He was just telling the truth as it was, and he's been proven right. So, being way ahead of your time is not always good. He was driven out of the Conservative Party, by the way, and out of politics. Enoch Powell was. So who knows? Maybe Tommy Robinson will end up in politics, but right now he's in jail for 18 months, I believe. I don't know. Who knows if he'll be let out early. So, again, this is a very relevant topic right now, and it is becoming more relevant, and I hope it continues to gain in relevance over 2025, because it is very important. The peoples of Europe, in the European countries, and in the countries founded by Europeans, are getting fed up with the situation. No, what the elites are doing to these countries is destroying their societies. It is not helping. It's only helping the elites. And Elon Musk has weighed in on this, but over Christmas, he got a lot of backlash. He and Vivek Ramaswamy tweeted out some pretty harsh tweets against America and Americans. They came out in favor of the H-1B visa. This is a whole ongoing issue too. And now Elon Musk is now sort of deflecting by commenting on European issues. He commented on the AfD, the so-called extreme right-wing or far right-wing party in Germany. Elon Musk has been tweeting in favor of them, and now he's tweeting in favor of Tommy Robinson, the so-called right-wing extremist in the UK. So I think he's just doing that to deflect personally from his from his little meltdown about H-1B visas in America. Anyway, it's all intertwined. I appreciate this is a bit of a long video. I appreciate if you're still listening. If you are still listening, please like and subscribe. Please leave comments. I've been replying. I've been reading all the comments under these videos and replying to quite a few. I know this is a delicate topic, but these delicate topics have to be talked about. And, we can do it respectfully. I've replied to people who are not happy with what I'm saying, but you can disagree with me all you want. That's fine. Feel free to write me in the comments and I will reply to you. Keep it respectful though. This is not the place to have some sort of Reddit troll battle, troll storm. No, I'm not going to engage in that, but I will engage with anybody who thinks I'm completely wrong. And, just say your piece respectfully, and I in turn will reply respectfully. But I won't change my position. Almost certainly, probably not. Unless, maybe on certain things, we'll see. But for me, the issues are pretty straightforward. And, it's all about mass migration, and how it destroys the societies to which these mass migrants are coming into, to which they're coming. The immigration debate in general there's so many levels to it that it gets all mixed up when people talk about it. They're talking about different things. And in the UK, like Tommy Robinson he's famous for focusing on Muslims. Well, for me, the immigration debate really doesn't have anything to do with religion per se. It has to do with ethnicity, if you like. I think European countries, to me, it's perfectly perfectly acceptable and not racist or hateful to say that European countries should remain the vast majority European, like 95% European. Why not? That's perfectly normal. Just like I would say the same thing about Japan. Japan should be at least 95% Japanese. Same thing with China. Same thing with India. Same thing with, any African country or any Arab country. I wouldn't. That's the way the world is. The world is a diverse place, but not every single place in the world should be diverse. You will then homogenize every place if you do that, and there will be no more diversity, and there will be incredible social tension and social violence in many ways. So this is an important issue. It's very delicate to talk about. A lot of people just can't handle it. I think the so-called conservatives across the Anglosphere, including in the US, have completely let the side down. They haven't conserved anything, and things need to change. So let me know what you think. Again, thanks for listening if you've stayed on this long. I really appreciate it. I will be producing more videos on this topic. And yeah, I hope you watch those too. See you in the next one.